Wow, just a complete and total meltdown by Penn State tonight against Maryland. Penn State comes into this game, just think about this. This is staggering. 27.5-point favorites. 27.5-point favorites. And they get clobbered tonight, 35-19, in a game that was not that close. Maryland up 28-7 at the half, up 35-7. Really didn't even try to do a whole lot offensively the second half. This was humiliation and embarrassment of the highest degree for Penn State during the James Franklin tenure. We've talked about at times the lowest point of the Franklin tenure. I think this is it. I think this is the absolute lowest point of the James Franklin tenure. When you lose as a 27.5-point favorite to a team that you have flat out destroyed. Penn State has humiliated Maryland in the last three meetings, 163-6, including 59-0 last year in College Park. How did this happen? Well, okay, first of all, clearly Penn State is just not as good, nowhere near as good as anybody thought. There are serious problems with this offense when you take your top two tailbacks out of the mix. Okay, but it goes a little deeper than that tonight, because tonight this team did not look at all ready to play, did not look overly interested and spirited with a lot of fight like you would typically expect from a Penn State team. Now look, they lose a brutal game in crushing fashion at Indiana in a game they probably won anyway. Then you come out and you play your biggest game of the year against Ohio State, and you lose that. All of your goals are gone. There's no Big Ten championship. There's no college football playoff. That's when you test the leadership on a team. That's when you have to make sure everybody stays on the same page and focused. And here's what James Franklin's teams have been very good at. That 1-0 mentality each week. No matter if they lose a game here or there or play badly, Penn State comes out the next week and is generally ready to play. That 1-0 mentality has always worked for James Franklin. This team was not ready to play. This is the worst performance I've seen by a Penn State team early. And look, even back to 2016, got down big against Pitt, got down big against Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. Those teams were loaded with offensive players, so you always maybe kind of thought, hey, though, you could come back if you didn't play well in the first half. This team, Maryland, has made some progress. I watched that fourth quarter comeback against Minnesota. You had to figure Maryland was going to come in here not only with a lot of confidence after that, but with not a chip on their shoulder, a Mount Everest on their shoulder after being humiliated by Penn State last year and for the last 3 years. Those Maryland players, I give them a lot of credit. They're a different team with Talia Tagovailoa back there. That kid, it looks really good. Their receivers make plays, and Penn State's defense was flat out awful in the first half. Now look, we can talk about the issues on offense, the issues on defense. This was a complete meltdown by the Penn State offense and defense. I liked the decision to go for it on 4th and, I believe, 3 at the 7-yard line on Penn State's first series, down 7-0. Because even if you don't get it, Maryland's got the ball inside their 5, and you'll probably hold them and get it back, which, hey, they did. So I don't mind the decision, but it was a terrible play call on a deep fade. I think that deflated this Penn State team something fierce by not getting any points. And again, I like the play call, but by not getting any points. And then you hold Maryland, they have one first down, then punted. But then Maryland gets the ball back a little bit later. They get a huge 62-yard touchdown on the exact same crossing pattern to Raheem Jarrett that scored the first touchdown. Just terrible play by the Penn State secondary. There are major issues with this Penn State team that nobody could have foreseen a few weeks ago. Everybody picked this team to go 8-1 or 7-2. I polled the best media in the state. Every single person had them going 8-1 or 7-2. I had 7-2. 11 people had them going 8-1. The other 10 had 7-2. They're 0-3 right now. The first 0-3 start since 2001 when they started 0-4. So, look, I think this team has a lot of problems on offense. I think that Sean Clifford has regressed in key areas. 27 for 57 tonight. Some bad throws in the first half. If he hits a Pat Fryermuth down the seam on a wide open play, maybe the game is different. Just one or two throws. But Sean Clifford is running for his life. He feels like he has to do everything. because he does have to do everything. The running game, non-existent when you take Journey Brown and Noah Cain out of the mix. The offensive line has been very poor. This was supposed to be a strength of the team. The offensive line is not playing well. It got manhandled by Ohio State. Did not play well in this game. No running lanes. Clifford's under pressure. He's running for his life all over the place. And I'll give Sean Clifford some credit. He's doing everything he can. But there's a fine line between doing everything you can and trying to do too much. And Sean Clifford is trying to do too much. And it's a tough situation to be in. Because, again, the wide receiver situation has worked itself out a little bit. Jahan Dotson, I think, is really, really good. We didn't know that 2 weeks ago. And Parker Washington can make some plays, but with no running game, and you have to throw the ball 57 times because you're behind. And they're behind not just because of the offense, but because the defense was not ready to play. So when I say this was a complete and total meltdown by Penn State, we've just not seen this against this caliber of opponent. Yeah, we've seen it against maybe some good teams where they got down big early. But when you're a 27.5-point favorite against a team that you have flat out throttled the last 3 years, and you come out and get embarrassed like this right now, this is a major, major point for this Penn State football team this season and for the future with James Franklin, how he handles this, the leadership on this team. Are guys going to keep buying into that 1-0 mentality? You know, I hate to speculate on this kind of thing, but there's some guys on this team that could opt out really at any point. You got 2 first-round draft picks on this team in Pat Fryermuth and Jason Owe. I commend them. They're great players. A lot of respect for them. Are they going to keep playing? And you know, I have no reason to think that they won't. But quite frankly, I can make every case that they should go ahead and opt out now. And I know that sounds bad because some of you might think that's quitting on your team. But look, I mean, this season has gone south in a hurry. And they can still, you know, there's still games to be played. You can still play for something, get it turned around, show some leadership. But I think there are serious questions with this offense in a lot of areas. Clifford, the running game, the offensive line. I think there's questions with this defense. What's going to happen with Lamont Wade? He hurt himself today. I mean, wow. 0-3 for a team that opened the season in the top 10 with college football playoff expectations or hopes. Man, this has gone south fast. This was an embarrassing loss and the worst loss of the James Franklin tenure at Penn State.